And obviously your pickup point begins higher with Caitlin out there. She can shoot it once it crosses half court, and she will.
Stephanie White has a Caitlin Clark problem, and the entire league just watched an opposing head coach expose it in real time. Right there, before the game even tipped off, Louisiana Sparks head coach Lynne Roberts stepped to the podium and told the media everything they needed to know about what Caitlin Clark brings to the Indiana Fever and what Stephanie White is failing to unlock. Lynne Roberts, the opposing coach, did Caitlin Clark's scouting report more justice in 2 minutes at a pre-game press conference than Stephanie White has managed across a season and a half of actual coaching. Let that sentence sit with you for a second. Welcome back. This is Rim Run, and today we are ripping the doors off the conversation the establishment refuses to let you have. Because while the media protects Stephanie White, a rival head coach just confirmed every single thing I have been saying about this situation for months.
And, that's what I love about her. She'll play any spot, anytime, whatever you need.
Before I get into exactly what Lynne Roberts said, and I promise you every word of it matters, I need you to understand the missing context that every mainstream outlet has completely skipped over. This is not just a story about one pre-game press conference. This is a story about a pattern. A brutal, undeniable, glaring pattern of a head coach who cannot articulate how her two best players are supposed to coexist on the same floor, and an opposing head coach who figured it out from the outside in under 48 hours of film study. I have been documenting this situation for months now. If you go back and watch my video from a few weeks ago, where I broke down the Fever's offensive spacing issues, you already saw this coming. I laid it out then, and I am laying it out again now, with fresh receipts. Stay with me all the way through this video, because at around the 9-minute mark I am going to show you the clip that changes the entire frame of this story, and I am going to stake 5 specific predictions that no one else in this space is willing to put on record. Let's get into it.
Out there, she can shoot it once it crosses half court, and she will.
Here is what actually happened. John Davis of the Southern California News Group stepped up at the pre-game press conference and asked Lynne Roberts, the head coach of the LA Sparks, how she planned to approach the game against Indiana, given that Caitlin Clark was making her first game back and was going to be on a minutes restriction. Now listen to how Lynne Roberts answered that question. She did not fumble, she did not hedge, she did not give a generic answer about staying disciplined and executing the game plan. She delivered a surgical, precise, detailed breakdown of exactly what Caitlin Clark does to a defense, and she did it with total conviction. Lynne Roberts told the media that Indiana plays fast and that Caitlin Clark helps them play even faster. She identified the specific vulnerability the Sparks had to guard against: live ball turnovers that turn into fast break points in 2 seconds flat. She acknowledged that the Sparks' defensive pickup point has to begin higher when Caitlin is on the floor, because, and I am going to quote this directly, she will shoot it the moment she crosses half court. She will shoot it, and she will make it. Lynne Roberts said that with the kind of respect you reserve for players who have genuinely terrified you on film. Now I want you to sit with the contrast here. Because while Lynne Roberts, an opposing coach who has faced Caitlin Clark twice this season, is delivering that level of detailed, specific, intelligent analysis in a pre-game press conference, Stephanie White is sitting across town giving the media word salad about synergy and moments and how individually her two best players are really good. I cannot stand it when this happens. My apologies. I just get so passionate watching this play out in real time. Because the gap between what Lynne Roberts understands about Caitlin Clark and what Stephanie White demonstrates she understands is not a small gap. It is a canyon. Don't take my word for it. Lynne Roberts said it herself. Watch this.
And obviously your pickup point begins higher with Caitlin out there. She can shoot it once it crosses half court, and she will.
She said it. With cameras rolling, before the game even started, the opposing head coach said, "Your pickup point begins higher with Caitlin out there, because she can shoot it once she crosses half court, and she will." Let me say that back to you in the harshest possible framing, because this is the part that should make every Fever fan's blood boil. An opposing coach, someone whose entire job in that moment was to game plan against Caitlin Clark, demonstrated more tactical clarity about what Caitlin Clark does on a basketball floor than the coach who is supposed to be building an offense around her. Lynne Roberts sees Caitlin Clark. She sees her completely. She understands the spacing implications, the pace implications, the defensive adjustment requirements. She mapped all of it out in a 2-minute press conference answer. And meanwhile, Stephanie White is still telling the media that Caitlin and Kelsey Mitchell seem to find the right synergy in moments. That is the standard. That is what passes for analysis from the bench of the Indiana Fever. 3 weeks ago I made a video telling you that the Fever's offensive system was not built around Caitlin Clark's strengths. The footage is in that video. Go check it now if you missed it. Because what Lynne Roberts just confirmed in that press conference is the exact same thing I was documenting then. And every single one of those observations came true. Receipts are in the comments of that video. Now let's talk about Kate Martin, because Lynne Roberts did not stop at praising Caitlin Clark. She went on to give a genuine, detailed, appreciative breakdown of what Kate Martin brings to the Sparks. And this is where the story gets even more interesting. Lynne Roberts told the media that what she loves about Kate Martin, and she used the word love, not appreciate, not value, love, is that Kate Martin can play any spot, anytime, whatever you need. She described Kate as someone who walks in and says, "Hey, tell me what you need. I know what you need. I can play for you." That is a coach describing a player she genuinely wants in her building. That is not a coach making diplomatic comments about an opposing roster piece. That is a coach who has already run the mental exercise of what Kate Martin looks like in her system, and liked what she saw. And here is where I need you to connect the dots, because the mainstream conversation is not connecting them for you. Kate Martin left Indiana. She is now in LA, playing for Lynne Roberts. And Caitlin Clark, Kate Martin's best friend, her former Iowa teammate, the person she was literally caught on camera telling she could not wait to join in LA, is still in Indiana, playing for Stephanie White. That post-game exchange between Caitlin and Kate is not nothing. That is two people who built something real together at Iowa, who clearly still have a deep personal and professional connection, openly talking about a reunion, in purple and gold.
And, that's what I love about her. She'll play any spot, anytime, whatever you need.
Now let me escalate this frame, because what we have seen so far is just the surface layer. Let's go deeper. Stephanie White stood at her own podium and was asked directly about how she gets Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell to play well together. This is the central tactical question of the Fever's entire season. 2 elite guards, 2 ball-dominant players, 1 system. And Stephanie White's answer, her actual answer, was that individually, they are really, really good, and collectively, they are dynamic together, and they seem to find the right synergy in moments. That is the answer. That is what she gave the media. She acknowledged they have not had a lot of time together over the last season and a half. She talked about Caitlin's ability to shoot and facilitate and Kelsey's ability to get downhill. And then she said they make one another better. Here is the problem with every single word of that answer. It is generic, it is vague, it describes 2 good players who happen to be on the same team. It does not describe a system, it does not describe a play call, it does not describe a specific offensive action designed to leverage both of their skill sets simultaneously. Lynne Roberts, in a pre-game press conference from the opposing bench, gave a more tactically specific answer about what Caitlin Clark does to a defense than Stephanie White gave about how she intends to use Caitlin Clark on offense. That is not a coaching philosophy. That is sabotage. Pass 2, pattern of behavior. This is not the first time. I have been documenting this for months, and I need every single person watching this video to understand that what we are seeing with Stephanie White is not a rough patch, it is a pattern. A consistent, repeating, undeniable pattern of a head coach who cannot translate talent into a coherent offensive identity. The first time the Sparks played Indiana this season, Caitlin Clark was in the lineup. The second time, she was not. Lynne Roberts told the media she has seen both versions of the Fever, with Caitlin and without, and she knows the difference. She knows what the team looks like when Caitlin is out there pushing pace, creating spacing, shooting from half court. She knows what it looks like without her. And she was clear that the version with Caitlin is a fundamentally different and more dangerous team. That is an opposing coach telling you, on record, that Caitlin Clark transforms this roster. And Stephanie White, the person in charge of actually deploying that transformation, is still talking about moments of synergy. The Fever have had a season and a half to figure out how to run Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell together. A season and a half. And the best Stephanie White can offer the media is that they seem to find it in moments. 3 opportunities, 3 identical non-answers, 3 times Caitlin Clark paid the price. Here is what irks my nerves even more than Stephanie White's answers, and I want to be direct about this. The mainstream basketball media has been covering for this coaching situation for the entire season. The conversation TV refuses to have is the one where someone looks directly at the Fever's offensive structure and asks why the most electrifying player in the WNBA does not have a system built specifically around what she does. Instead, the narrative has been about Caitlin adjusting, Caitlin learning, Caitlin fitting in. As if the burden of making this work falls entirely on the rookie, now in her 2nd season, rather than on the coaching staff that is paid to design the offense. And the front office has stayed quiet. The assistant coaches have stayed quiet. The analysts who cover this team daily have stayed quiet. Everyone around the Fever's organization has watched this mismatch play out in real time and decided that the polite, deferential thing to do is say nothing. Lynne Roberts, from the other bench, was the one who finally said out loud what this team looks like when Caitlin Clark is on the floor. And every single person inside the Fever's organization stayed silent. Receipts are coming. Pass 4, cost to Caitlin Clark. Let me talk about what Caitlin Clark has actually lost in this situation, because that is the part of this story that genuinely matters. Caitlin Clark is in her second WNBA season. She is coming off an injury. She is returning to the floor on a minutes restriction. And the coach welcoming her back is the same coach who, when asked directly how she plans to use Caitlin and Kelsey together, gave an answer so vague and so disconnected from any actual tactical thinking that it could have been generated by someone who had never watched a single Fever game. Meanwhile, across the country, Lynne Roberts is standing at a podium talking about how Caitlin Clark changes Indiana's pace, changes their spacing, changes the defensive pickup point for every opponent they face. Lynne Roberts sees what Caitlin brings. She sees it from the outside, without access to a single practice, without a single conversation with Caitlin, just from watching film. And Stephanie White, who has access to all of it, every practice rep, every film session, every conversation, is giving the media synergy and moments. That is what Caitlin Clark's prime is being burned for.
Out there, she can shoot it once it crosses half court, and she will.
And here is the receipt that nobody in the mainstream conversation will play for you, because of what it proves about the gap between how Lynne Roberts thinks about Kate Martin and how Stephanie White thinks about building around her best players. She can play any spot, anytime, whatever you need. That is Lynne Roberts describing Kate Martin. 8 words. And in those 8 words, Lynne Roberts demonstrated something that Stephanie White has been unable to demonstrate across a season and a half. The ability to look at a player's versatility and immediately understand how to weaponize it. Lynne Roberts saw Kate Martin as a piece who could slide up, absorb a mismatch, create spacing, and fill whatever role the possession demanded. She saw the knife cutting both ways. Yes, it is a defensive mismatch, but it is also an offensive opportunity. And she was honest that the Sparks did not take full advantage of it. That level of honest self-assessment, combined with that level of tactical clarity about what her own players bring, is exactly what has been missing from the Fever's sideline. And now Kate Martin is in LA, playing for a coach who genuinely sees her, and Caitlin Clark is still in Indiana, waiting. Before I lay out the verdict, I need you to hear this one last clip, because of what it proves about who actually recognizes elite talent in this league. She will shoot it once she crosses half court. She will shoot it. That is Lynne Roberts. That is the opposing coach. That is the person whose entire job in that moment was to stop Caitlin Clark. And she still could not help but tell the media exactly how terrifying Caitlin Clark is to defend. That kind of respect does not come from a place of strategy. That comes from a place of genuine recognition. Lynne Roberts sees Caitlin Clark the way great coaches see great players. And now let me give you my 5 predictions, because this is where Rim Run separates from every other conversation you are going to find on this topic. Prediction 1. Stephanie White's job security. If Stephanie White is still the head coach of the Indiana Fever by the time this season reaches its critical stretch run, and the Fever are not in a legitimate playoff position, I want every single person watching this video to come back to this comment section and roast me. Because the front office cannot continue to watch this coaching mismatch play out in real time, with opposing coaches publicly demonstrating more tactical clarity about their own roster than Stephanie White does, and do nothing. The clock is ticking. Save this clip. Prediction 2. Caitlin Clark's next move. Caitlin Clark is going to have a performance in the next 2 weeks that makes the minutes restriction conversation completely irrelevant. She is going to come back onto that floor and remind every single person watching, including Lynne Roberts, including the Sparks, including everyone who has been quietly circling her situation, exactly why she is the most important player in this league. She is going to shoot it from half court, and she is going to make it. Mark this video. Prediction 3. The Sparks front office. The LA Sparks are going to make a deliberate, public, organized push to position themselves as the most attractive landing spot for Caitlin Clark when her current situation becomes untenable. Lynne Roberts has already started that campaign from the podium, whether she intended to or not. Every word she said about Caitlin's pace, Caitlin's shooting range, Caitlin's ability to transform a roster, that is a recruitment speech. Watch what the Sparks do in the next 2 to 3 weeks in terms of how they talk about their roster, their culture, and their future. This is already in motion. Prediction 4. The media story that is coming. The story about the Fever's offensive dysfunction, specifically the failure to build a coherent system around Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell simultaneously, is going to break wide open in the mainstream basketball media within the next month. Reporters who have been sitting on this angle are going to find the moment where it becomes impossible to ignore. And when that story lands, I want every single person watching this video to come back here, because I have been documenting this for months, and the receipts are all in my previous videos. 3 videos ago I told you this was the central unresolved tension of the Fever's season. Look what is happening right now. Prediction 5, the season outcome. The Indiana Fever's season ends with a first-round playoff exit, if they make the playoffs at all, unless there is a fundamental change in how the coaching staff deploys Caitlin Clark. The talent is there. The pace is there. The shooting is there. Lynne Roberts told you exactly what Indiana looks like when Caitlin is healthy and playing freely. That team is dangerous. But a dangerous roster with a coaching staff that cannot articulate how its 2 best players complement each other is a team that loses in the moments that matter most. Mark this video, come back when the season ends and tell me I was wrong. And here is the closing image I want to leave you with. Because this is what the establishment does not want you to focus on. Right now, Caitlin Clark is lacing up her sneakers, coming back from injury, preparing to step onto a floor where the opposing coaches have more respect for her game than her own sideline demonstrates. She is doing it anyway. She is crossing half court, and she is shooting it. Because that is who Caitlin Clark is. And no amount of coaching malpractice, no amount of vague answers about synergy and moments, no amount of institutional silence from the people who should be building the world around her talent. None of it has stopped her. She is out there. She is doing it. And the entire league, including Lynne Roberts, standing at a rival podium, sees it. Alright, here is what I need from you right now. Drop your most honest take in the comments. Is Stephanie White genuinely incapable of building a system around Caitlin Clark? Or is the Fever's roster construction the real problem, and White is getting unfair blame? Pick a side, defend it. I want to see the debate play out down there. And while you are in the comments, save this specific prediction. I said the Sparks are actively positioning themselves as Caitlin Clark's next destination, and that this campaign started from Lynne Roberts' own podium. If I am right by the end of this season, come back and tell me. If I am wrong, roast me. I can take it, tag the friend who keeps telling you Stephanie White is doing a fine job, and that Caitlin Clark just needs more time to adjust. Make them watch this video, make them listen to what Lynne Roberts said, and then make them tell you with a straight face that the coaching situation in Indiana is not a problem. And here is what is coming next. Tomorrow we are going to break down the full picture of what a Caitlin Clark trade scenario to LA actually looks like. The roster construction, the timeline, the obstacles, and the one move the Sparks front office would have to make first. If you are not subscribed, you are going to miss it. Hit the bell right now. This is Rimrun. We will see you in the next video.